am battling cancer. I'm lesbian, but I have realized I love my male best friend of 25 years. My dearest friend in the world is a man named James. James and I grew up in the same town, a small conservative Christian town. The first time I met him was on the playground at school. He saw me sitting alone under a tree and came over to ask me if I wanted to play with him and his friends. I said no, but he noticed I was reading a book about space. So he sat down next to me and asked me which planet I thought would be the coolest to visit. We ended up talking for the rest of recess about what we thought the other planets might be like, and when we went back to class he introduced me to his friends as my new friend. We were inseparable from that point on. It was one of those things where the entire town had us married off by age 8. We didn't understand at the time, of course, but I would go on family trips with his family, stay over at his place and vice versa through most of elementary school. Get in trouble for talking during class every day, though not really because the teachers all loved him. When we finally reached the awkward teenage years and dating became a thing, he asked me to the first school dance and I said yes. We sort of started dating by default. I don't think we ever talked about it explicitly, but I just started calling him my boyfriend to other people and we went with that. Very little changed about our relationship. We still basically just did all the same stuff we used to do before, except our parents got stricter about the sleepovers and there was more hand-holding and cuddling. Kissing and stuff was always difficult for me and I didn't know why, but he never pushed me on it at all, not even once. The 2 times we tried he was able to tell very quickly that I was uncomfortable and he just shut the interaction down by messing up my hair playfully, saying enough of that, how about we just watch a movie? I just assumed one day I would get it. Well, I didn't. Sometime around 15 years old I started to realize the problem. I wasn't attracted to men. This was a very trying time for me, given the kind of environment I grew up in. This was not acceptable. I went over to his house trembling. He had done what he always did, made my favorite snacks and got the controllers and my favorite game ready to go. He opened the door and gave me a hug and I came in. I was so scared. We sat down and he looked at me for a second before putting his hand on mine and asking me what was wrong. So, I tried to tell him, and I got halfway through the sentence, struggling to actually say I'm gay, before he just interrupted me and said, "You are gay." "Yes, I know. Is there anything else?" Followed by that goofy smile I love so much. I just froze in place. I asked him if he was mad and he just laughed and told me he loved me the way I was, and this was the way I was. I just started crying and jumped into his arms. We stayed best friends after that. We never actually had a breakup talk, but we did start to date other people. We hung out almost every day until we graduated and he went away to a big name college. The night before he left he came and picked me up and we drove around town and hit all our favorite spots. He drove me back home at 3 a.m. or something in the rain and I took his hand during the drive home and fell asleep on his shoulder. He promised to stay in touch, but I didn't know if that would happen. Well, it did. Obviously it wasn't like before, but he made sure to call me every week just to check up on me and see how things were going. I went to college close to home. During his junior year my parents found out that I was gay. They did not react well and I was basically kicked out of my home to save me. I did what I always do and called James. He talked to me for about an hour and then got his mom to drive up to get me so I could stay in his old room. Then he flew home the next day pretty much just to cheer me up and make sure I was alright. Vintage driving around in circles singing like idiots and 2 a.m. junk food runs did the trick. I later found out from my mom that he had also gone and confronted my parents and stood up for me and told them they should be ashamed of themselves, and if they were willing to lose their daughter over this they were unfit parents and not the second family I thought you were. My parents worship him, so this was effective, and my mom still tells this story to this day. Years went by and he got married. I got a long-term girlfriend. We stayed close the entire time. We saw each other a lot less, but it was still great every time he visited and we had frequent text and calls. And then tragedy struck. His wife divorced him. I never liked her, but he did. I think she used him for a green card and he was too sweet to notice, but that's neither here nor there. He came back home so I saw him a lot more. Obviously he was crushed, but we got through it together. And then I got the diagnosis. At age 27. Cancer. Decent chance of survival, but I had to start treatment right away. This experience has changed me and my outlook on life more than anything else that's ever happened to me combined. At first, everyone was there for me. I was getting visitors daily, friends, family, everyone. But as the weeks turned into months it all stopped. Most people, even my friends, started coming once a week, then once a month, then many not at all. When things were looking bad around the 8-month mark my girlfriend broke up with me claiming she loved me but she couldn't handle watching this. Almost 2 years in now, and there's only 5 people who are still here. My mom, my dad, my sister, my BFF Amanda, and James. I almost can't talk about it without crying, but James is here every day. Every day. For hours. He may have missed 20 days in almost 2 years due to work-related travel, and even then he calls me. He comes in and asks how his Amumu is doing and listens. He brings my favorite snacks and treats when I can have them. Board games we like to play, old video games on handheld so we can play. He sings to me and shows me pictures of places he's been I'd like to go and talks about taking me once I'm better. He sits there and holds my hand in silence so I won't be alone until the doctors tell him it's time to go. Then he does it again the next day. I've never seen him cry or show any sadness. If I even casually say something like if I get better, he'll immediately interject, when you get better. He just won't give up on me. The only other person who is there like this is Mom. Even others who have also shown up in big ways are not this consistent. My mom is the #1 all-time James fangirl. 3 months ago she made probably her first comment of me marrying him in around 7 years. I guess there are a few things she said. The first was pay attention to the people who are still here now. They're the people who always will be. They're the people who love you and not just what you can do for them. Which sort of set me off on the whole months-long train of thought that led to this post. Then about a month ago, Mom was a little more direct. After James left one evening she told me, "Baby, in all my years on this earth, I've never seen anyone love anybody like that boy loves you. I know you don't like it when I talk about this, but trust me, if you let him go again you're gonna regret it forever." I don't know what has changed, but this time when she said that, I just knew she was right. Every relationship I've ever been in has had some problem or thing that has to be worked on. Most of them have. Several. The only thing missing here is that I don't feel a strong urge to rip his clothes off like I have with some of the women I've been with. But even there it's different. In general I find the idea of being with a man disgusting, but I don't find it disgusting with him. I like being touched by him and being close to him. He's so gentle. Lately I even find myself fixating on his lips and daydreaming about kissing him. I'm not that intimate of a person, and I think overall, of the people I've known in my life I would be happier with him than with anyone else, and it isn't close. Now the big problem is the cancer. Honestly, I'm not really on the fence about this anymore. If I survive, I want to be with him. I am getting better and the doctors are hopeful. But I am not sure if I should tell him now, or not. I want to tell him so bad. I want him to know how much I love him. Lovers have come and gone for both of us, but every time I close my eyes and think about times I've felt truly loved, understood and accepted, it's always his smiling face I see. When I think about times I've felt warm and safe, it's his arms I feel wrapping around me like a warm blanket just my size, his voice I hear saying don't worry Amumu, it'll be alright. Or cracking some silly joke. I want him to know that I want him with me, by my side forever. There's nowhere I'd rather be than wherever he is, doing absolutely anything.